So one thing is for sure is that if you can't evaluate what's going to happen to the ball on certain lies, you're going to have a really hard time hitting stock shots and hitting greens, right? And the truth is that what are the odds that if you go play golf, the lie that the ball is sitting on is flat? I mean, probably not very good. So in this podcast, what I want to do is I want to help you understand how different terrain, like the tilts of the lies, uphill, downhill, side hill, ball above your feet, ball below your feet, how that impacts the curvature of the ball, how that's going to impact your stock shot so that you can hit more fairways, more greens, and have more fun playing golf. So the big question is this: how do passionate golfers like you and I develop a stock shot day in and day out? A stock shot that's as reliable as the sun coming up in the morning. That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. Welcome to Stock Shot Secrets. So if we break this down to, let's say, 4 lies, you have an uphill lie, a downhill lie, a ball above your feet, and a ball below your feet. So the question is when you have those lies, what is going to happen to the golf ball? So if you got a pen and paper or you got your phone, take notes, because you're probably going to want to write this down so that you can kind of look at it and reevaluate this later, or just really, really pay attention maybe while you're driving. Don't write when you're driving, so that you guys can understand this. So first and foremost, what is the ball going to do on an uphill lie? Now, let's talk a little bit about what happens on an uphill lie. On an uphill lie, when you have that, the club, basically the player subconsciously is going to want to swing a little bit from the inside. And the reason is because they're trying to swing with the slope, because the ball is going to be, if you have an uphill lie, the ball needs to go up. And the reason is because I don't want to have a club and take the club and smash it into the hill. I want to kind of tilt my body with the slope, and I'm going to have the ball more up, and I'm also going to swing basically on the direction of the slope. So what happens is when I do that, the club will come a little bit more from the inside. So let's just say, for the sake of this experiment, the person's club path, which we would not want, but we're just going to say this for this one example, the club path of the player is normally 0 on a normal shot. Well, now what ends up happening is when you have an uphill lie, the player will swing more from the inside. So now the club path is going to shift to probably like 4 or 5 degrees from the inside. But then what ends up happening is, because the ball is up, the face will be more close to the arc. So now the ball will curve. So that is why when we have an uphill lie, more times than not, the player will hit a draw, or if they do hit an over-the-top slice, it will slice less, right? That's probably why some of you guys who do hit pull cuts and slices, you're like, I like these uphill lies because I hit it good, right? So that will make, by and large, the player's ball will draw a little bit more. So what do we need to do to our aim? We need to aim a little bit more right. Now, what is it going to do to the distance? Well, because of the fact that the ball is up in my stance and I have an uphill lie, I'm going to be imparting more loft onto the face. So if I did to put more loft onto the face, the ball will therefore go shorter, because it will go higher because of more loft. So now if I'm hitting a 7-iron and I hit a 7-iron 174 yards, based upon how high the slope is, I need to club up and probably hit a 6-iron and know that it's going to draw when I do that, so I need to aim more right. And based upon how much I'm uphill, it will determine how much more right I aim. So that's the uphill lie. Now the same, or really I should say the opposite, would be true for the downhill lie. So if I have an uphill lie, I play the ball up. If I have a downhill lie, I play the ball back. And that's not just for irons, that also goes for short game as well. So if you're wondering, hey, how's my lie? Where do I want to land it? What loft? What club? If it's around the green, if you have a downhill lie, the ball would go back. So what do you do in a downhill lie? Well, in a downhill lie, the player subconsciously will want to swing a little bit steeper, because if they're too from the inside, they will bottom out too far behind the ball, because there's a slope that's swinging down into the ball. So the player will be a little bit steeper. So if their club path is normally 0, it would now be like -4. And now when it's -4, the face will be a little bit open to the path, and the ball will have a tendency to cut more than it normally does. So now we need to aim more left. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they are coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets. Now, what about the yardage? Well, because of the fact that we're on a downhill slope, the club face will have less loft, so therefore it will come out lower, and now it will roll more. So if I hit a 7-iron, 174, and that's how far I need to carry it, I could hit an 8-iron and get away with hitting an 8-iron because it will have the dynamic loft of a 7-iron because of the fact that I'm putting the ball back in my stance. So if it's a downhill lie, the ball will fade and go farther and roll. It won't necessarily carry farther, but it will roll farther. Okay, so hopefully you guys are, because it'll come out a little flatter. Okay, so that's the downhill lie. Now, what about when the ball is above your feet, right? Like it's like eye level. So what happens with the way that the shaft works in the golf club, in golf with just like this three-dimensional plane, is that when the ball is above your feet, right, and it looks at it, and you're kind of staring there looking at the face when it's like up here, like on a bunker lip or something like that, even though the grooves are parallel to the flag, what happens, because the face has a loft to it, like if I'm here, if you, I don't know, you're not gonna be able to see this, but if I actually go here, if I was like this and I'm on an uphill lie, the loft, there's a loft to the face. So when it's up, the face angle, when the higher the ball is above you, so the more it's like at eye level compared to like normally on the ground, the more the face will aim left, right? So that is why when you have a ball that is above your feet, like let's say at your chest length or whatever, you have to aim significantly more right because that's where the face is actually aiming, right? And then also understanding, because the ball is more above your feet, you intuitively will swing from the inside. That's why many of you guys are like, man, the ball's up above my feet a little bit. It's kind of on the first cut. I love this shot, right? This is the stock shot I've been dreaming of and working at, right? So when you have that shot, the reason is because now you are swinging a little bit more from the inside. So if the robot was 0, now you're going to be like 4 or 5 degrees from the inside. But because of the fact that the ball is above you and the tilt of the shaft, because the lower the handle, right, the more the face looks left, that will make the face close to the path, and therefore it draws. So that is why when you have a ball above your feet, you need to aim more right. And you go, well, how far right do you aim? And I wish I could give you like a really cool math formula where it's like, okay, for every degree of the slope is 3 yards more right. Unfortunately, that's not exactly how it works. It probably is. I'm just not that smart. There's definitely probably an answer for that, which might, because I'm such a nerd, I might go figure that out. But the point being is that when you are doing that, you kind of have to stand behind it and like kind of visualize like, where is this ball probably going to start and where is it going to curve? And then this is where my new aim spot needs to be, right? So, but the long and short of it, when the ball is above your feet and the handle is low, because it's so much higher, the face will aim more left, you will swing more shallow, and therefore it'll curve. In regards to its distance, it's probably going to be basically the same, right? However, and this is a big asterisk, based upon where you have to stand, if you notice that you're gripping up on it, which you probably should, that will also have a tendency to make the ball go shorter because of the fact that now the axis of the club is shorter. So if I'm gripping up on an 8-iron, right, and I'm gripping up on it an inch or an inch and a half, the ball will travel shorter than my normal distance. So be sure to take that into account, that those uphill, when the ball is above your feet, you're probably gripping up a little bit, and it's probably going to go a little shorter than what you think. Now, in the other instance, when the ball is below your feet, right, it's below your toes, what happens here is that we have to raise the handle, and think about this also with chipping. When you raise the handle, the face opens. So now when the ball is below my feet, right, and I'm like kind of, I have a left to right lie, I'm going to have to stand closer to it. And because I stand closer to it, the lie angle will open the face and kind of aim it to the right. So even though the grooves look like they're aiming at the flag, if the club face was a mirror, you would notice that the mirror is aiming to the right. So then what ends up happening is because the ball is below your feet, you're not going to want to be super shallow because you're going to bottom out behind the ball. So you kind of intuitively get a little steeper, right? So the player who is the robot has a 0 club path, he's probably, or she is probably going to swing a little bit more left as a right-handed golfer, so a path of like -5 or 6. And the face is already open because of the lie angle. So now the face is open to the path and the ball will cut. So therefore, that is why we have to aim more left for that left to right lie. And in regards to distance, right, this lie will also have a tendency to go shorter because of the fact that it has a little bit more cut spin on it. And it's imperative with each one of these lies, uphill, downhill, side hill, and ball above your feet, that you swing in balance and in good tempo. Because if you try to rip it off these lies, you're already on uneven ground. So then what ends up happening is you end up not making solid contact and you hit it off the heel. And gear effect, if you hit it off the heel, the ball will go right. If you hit it off the toe, the ball will go left. And gear effect will always win, right? So that is why if you had a intention to pay attention to over these uneven lies, it would simply be balance. You just want to swing and make a swing and you have like a toe tap finish and you're in perfect balance, because hitting the center of the face is really important on these shots, right? You don't want to be swinging and then like falling all over the place. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of intellect and onto like what it is that you need to do to evaluate these lies when you go play, because like I said, it's going to have a dramatic impact on your stock shot, on what the curvature of your ball normally does. So we need to take that into account when we go to evaluate our lie, figure out where to land it, what is the loft and the wind, and then figuring out what club. So evaluating the lie of how the tilt of the ground is can have a massive, massive impact on you hitting more fairways, more greens, and having more fun, which is what this is all about. So thanks so much for tuning in. Take notes, and I'll see you guys back here soon. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. I would love to invite you to Columbus to come see me and hang out with me and build a personalized plan for you and your game. If you would want more information about building your personalized plan and coming to Columbus and hanging out, just email us at info@thegolfroom.com and we will get back to you and set your visit for an epic red carpet experience at TGR in Columbus, Ohio.